I worked as a school social worker here in Franklin County for about 13 years and certainly saw a great deal of issues surrounding poverty. Children often coming to school saying that they were hungry, particularly after summer break or after an excessive amount of snow where we had been out of school and they had not had food at home. Often I would have a child come up to me and say, I haven't eaten all weekend. We don't have any food at home. Or, I'm so glad to be back at school. I'm so glad that it stopped snowing because I haven't eaten since lunch the last day we were here. These children should not have to carry that burden. And that's why the Faith Network is so important to this county, and it's important for us to step up as a community and as a faith-based community especially.
People say, I didn't know there were homeless people in Franklin County. Are there really homeless people in Franklin County? And yes, there are really homeless people in any rural area. In a bigger city, you see them out, over the heating grates or up on the church steps. Here, they're more, might be in an abandoned shed or abandoned barn, or might be staying with people, or just in the woods.
In Franklin County, you don't really know that there is a need until you physically get out and go into these homes. We've had children living in homes with no electricity. One farmhouse, it was 16 or 17 degrees in there.
We tend to think, well, they must just not want to work, or they got themselves into this situation because of the poor choices that they made, so they deserve to be in the situation that they're in. What I have found throughout the past 20 years is it's not that people don't want to work. It could be a life-altering situation. It could be a death of a primary breadwinner. It could be past poor choices. But you might have someone who really is wanting to make a change.
I've been a drug addict pretty much since I was 16 years old.
I had lost our home. I was struggling.
I started having criminal problems when I was 9 years old. I had people tell me all the time that I wasn't nothing. So I actually believed it.
I have found that the missing link when we look at existing community agencies is that of relationships. It seems that many of these families have never had a positive support system in their life. They've never been exposed to the Word of God. They've never experienced the hands and feet of Jesus. And they don't know how to navigate the waters of the community agencies that already exist. In fact, when you look at the most successful programs nationwide, for example, Alcoholics Anonymous, the key factor is having someone to guide you and provide resources and strength and words of encouragement. And that is the area that I felt like we were missing here in Franklin County. And that is exactly what we want the Faith Network to be.
Oftentimes it's easier for us to just hand out a check and say, okay, go take care of that need. And then that way it exonerates us of any responsibility, and we don't have to do any follow-up. Doesn't require any more of our time. Most of these people, this is a recurring problem, and so we're not really getting at the heart of the issue.
People get into such a deep, dark place, they just can't see a way out. Fortunately, many of us have folks that we can rely on during those dark times that can help us through that. But sadly, a lot of the families here in Franklin County and throughout the world, they don't have that. And that is a huge factor. When we talk about resiliency, when we talk about coming out of these situations, we see a lot of people that self-medicate because they don't want to deal or they can't deal with the problems that they are encountering. And they just need a positive support system to help guide them in the direction that they need to go. Alvin was our very first case with the Faith Network. In fact, Alvin set the tone for what the Faith Network is really all about. We heard about Alvin living in a tent down in the Snow Creek area of Franklin County before we had even decided what exactly Faith Network was going to be. Derek Lehman, who is a local pastor and who has been an integral part of developing the Faith Network, he wanted to do something sooner than later.
I got the address, I drove to the residence, and there was a green tent set up behind a single wide trailer. I just struck up a conversation with him at that point and was asking him how I could serve him right then and there, what needs he may have. Well, at the time, the church that I was serving, I went back to them and I explained the situation to them. And as it turns out, there was a lady in our church that said, hey, we have a single wide trailer on our property that nobody is using. He's welcome to stay there rent-free until he gets on his feet. I was asking Alvin how he got to be living in a tent. Well, he had inherited some money from his mother. His mother passed away. His brother had actually passed away as well. But he ended up squandering that money within a year. I said, well, why 2 years? He said, well, I can't work. I've had shoulder issues, and sure enough, he holds his shoulder. He was holding his shoulder all the time, his right shoulder. So I said, Alvin, a couple of the conditions that we have for helping you, or that I have for helping you, is number one, you have to get this reconstructive surgery on your shoulder, because he thought he had torn a rotator cuff, so that you can get a job, so you can be self-supportive. However, after the surgery, Alvin was in as much pain, if not more, than he was before. The emergency room doctor called and said, there's something in Alvin's chest that is big enough that the x-ray will pick up. And come to find out, Alvin had stage 4 lung cancer, and it spread to his adrenal glands, and there was really nothing they could do other than kind of slow the progress down. I never really forced my faith on Alvin, but one time, just in a normal conversation, I asked him, I said, Alvin, have you ever been baptized? And I don't know why I asked him that, it just came up. And he said, yeah, I was when I was a kid, and that was the end of it. So the next day we had to go to another doctor's appointment, and he said, do you remember when you asked me last night if I had been baptized? He said, I started thinking about that, and I don't think I ever was. And he said, I think I would like to do that. And so we set that up at my church. We had a baptismal service for him. And I think I met Alvin around February of 2017. And by July of 2017, I performed Alvin's funeral.
Derek just loved on him. He met him. He said, Alvin, what can we do to help you? And he walked right alongside Alvin. He was a spiritual leader to Alvin. He was a friend, and he walked right alongside him all the way up until Alvin's last days.
Sometimes it's not easy. Some of the cases that I've had since I've been with Faith Network have been more involved than others, and this was one of the more involved cases. But Alvin required it. As I learned to love on Alvin unconditionally, I realized how God loves on me unconditionally, and that sometimes I'm hard for God to deal with too, but He continues to love me and continues to do the things for me that need to be done. I still get emotional kind of talking about it, because I became friends with Alvin, and Alvin didn't have nothing to offer me, but at the same time he helped change kind of my heart and my view on what it means to be a Christian. So I'll be forever grateful for Alvin and the lessons that God taught me through that experience. It ain't just about coming to church on Sunday and playing church and feeling good about ourselves and being comfortable. It's about stepping out of our comfort zone and sacrificing a little bit of ourselves for the benefit of someone else.
When Nathaniel called Faith Network back in July of 2017, I will be the first to admit that I was a little apprehensive. You see, I knew Nathaniel when he was a teenager, when I worked for juvenile court. And I knew that Nathaniel's life had been laced with a lot of criminal activity. I knew that he had been in and out of jail. I knew that he had made a lot of poor decisions. And I'll be honest that I, in fact, was somewhat judgmental about whether or not we really could make a difference.
I started having criminal problems when I was 9 years old. Criminal issues got a lot worse when I became an adult. I was in jail for a probation violation last July. That was a breaking point for me. Just got tired of living that life.
There's not a place for criminals who are being released from jail to just go and get back on their feet. Folks like Nathaniel are just dropped off in this situation and dropped off in front of the Franklin County Courthouse with just the clothes that he had when he was arrested. He had a choice. He could have gone back to the house that he was living at, where he knew he would continue to get in trouble, or he could reach out and really try to turn his life around. And instead, he chose to live in the woods for a couple weeks until he reached out to the Faith Network.
After I was in the woods, I contacted the Faith Network, and they got me a motel room to stay in for 3 days. And they helped me get some food. After that, they helped me get a place to live.
Nathaniel has been out of trouble for over a year now, and that's the longest he had ever been out of trouble. And it's not because of the Faith Network. It's not because of me or any one person. It's because of God, and it's because of the people that have shown God's love to him through being a positive support system. And we're so proud of him, and we're so proud of where he's come and where he'll continue to go.
My mentor started taking me to church, and I asked God in my life, and that really changed me. I didn't want to do anything wrong anymore. My life in the past year has been better than it has been my whole entire life. I have the best support system you can ever ask for.
Angie was a drug addict and certainly has made a lot of poor choices throughout her life.
I've been a drug addict on and off pretty much since I was 16 years old. May 20th of last year, I woke up and had enough, so I reached out to a friend of mine who came to get me, and I checked myself into rehab.
She had hit rock bottom, and she wanted to make a change. She went to rehab, but like many people who go to rehab, when they come out, they a lot of times have nowhere to go except back to people that use.
I had no money, no ability to get to employment. I really didn't have anywhere to go.
The only place that she had to return to were to people who used drugs. And because of her addiction, she knew that she could not resist that.
On September the 8th, in 2016, I was involved in a head-on collision. My doctor told me I was a miracle. He told me I should have been dead or paralyzed from the waist down, but I felt like God had another plan for me. While on Facebook, I read a post from Katina Wright. A lady needed groceries. I said, I want to meet that lady and help her out. And the lady happened to be an addict, and her name was Angie.
They had matched me up with a mentor who helped me tremendously. And honestly, if it wasn't for that mentor and many other people that do volunteer their time with Faith Network, I probably would not have made it.
Angie is amazing. She is a recovering addict, and she is one of the strongest recovering addicts that I know.
Angie's mentor was able to help assist her with her transportation needs. They were able to reach out to others to help find a place for her to live where she would not be surrounded by those that use drugs or alcohol.
I would go and pick her up, take her to her doctor, take her to wherever she needed to go. We helped her basically get on her feet.
They had faith in me that I could move forward and stay sober, remain employed and have a residence, and showed me that how to pay my bills and be self-sufficient and not return to the lifestyle that I came from.
We're so proud of Angie. She's been sober and off of drugs for over a year. That's outstanding. And It's only made possible through Angie's strength, the support of her mentor and the faith-based community, and of course, God's hand in it all.
I just wanted her to feel that there is somebody that loves her and that she does matter. There's a God that loves her and there's people around that love her.
I'm very grateful for Faith Network. I think it's a great program. They do great things for people. Franklin County is very lucky to have it.
My name's Jamie, and I was raised in church. I've went to church my whole life. I've worked ever since I was 11 years old. But sometimes the hardest thing in life is asking for help.
Jamie didn't do anything to necessarily land her in the situation that we found her in. Instead, it was just a series of bad luck, one thing after another.
I had purchased a place for me and my kids and ended up having to move, and so I had lost our home.
She had bought a trailer and was trying to make enough money to move it to part of her family's land so that she could move into it. And in the meantime, some squatters came in and totally destroyed her trailer.
The furnace was removed, the floors were ripped up, there were holes in the wall, the hot water heater was uncovered and tore up. It just was a mess.
The day that I went to visit Jamie to do her assessment, she was so broken. She was so broken simply because she didn't know which way to turn. She felt like the whole world was against her. She felt like that she was never going to come out of that deep, dark hole that she was in.
Jamie came to Faith Network and was assessed, and I was given her as to be her mentor.
They called in the troops to help get her new home repaired and ready to live in. They lifted some of the burden that she just did not feel like was even bearable anymore.
Even to this day, they still are there. If I text them, if I call them, if I don't, they're texting me.
She has come a long ways and she's became a friend also, and I've loved working with her also.
I don't know what I would have done without Faith Network. Franklin County is very lucky to have them. I do hope more people reach out and see it and then reach out and help too, because I think that's a good part to give back and help, because that's each of our jobs.
Obviously, Faith Network is a nonprofit organization, and we have many, many needs. We need mentors. We need people that would be willing to walk alongside these folks and just basically be a friend. We need financial support. We are contacted daily, multiple times a day, from people who are being evicted, whose homes are being foreclosed on, people that are living in hotels, people that are coming out of rehab and out of jails.
When we are working with someone, we do an assessment, evaluate what their needs are, develop goals for them, and once we match them with the mentor, that's what they work on. A lot of times it's stable housing, drug and alcohol recovery issues, mental health issues that they need to follow up, with their counselors and medication, and just whatever they need at that time.
We spent in just the first 3 months of 2018 over $5,000 in putting people in hotels temporarily until we could figure something else out, or paying rent for folks that are completely displaced and homeless. It's a big misconception to think that we don't need that type of service here in Franklin County.
Just coming to the realization that there was this great need out there, it kind of saddened me that we just go through life and don't even think about other people and what they may be experiencing.
We still have children in this county that leave school on Fridays and they don't eat until Monday. When you actually go to a home and see little children run to you when there's a bag of food in your hands, that gets to you, that touches you, that lets you know that you're doing something right.
It's a heart service. We don't go into it expecting to get paid. We expect to make a difference, and that's why I love Faith Network.
We have always been sustained by the community and by churches. So we're in the process of trying to diversify our funding, but we still need your support.
We truly can make a difference, and we've proved that. We've made a difference in so many lives, and those people in return are now coming on board to help us try to help other people.
We want to see this program grow. We want every church in Franklin County to participate. We would like to see Franklin County Christians just reach out and love on all of these individuals. There is a ministry field right here in this county. And while I 100% support missions overseas, people need to know that there are people right here in Franklin County that has never heard truth. They've never had that type of support. And I would love to see everyone in Franklin County wrap around and love on those that are hurting here in this county to end this generational poverty.